The Leti Chateau restaurant buzzed with elegance and the hum of lively conversation. Clarissa Maderos, a young black lawyer, sat amidst her colleagues celebrating a significant courtroom victory. Her determined eyes and captivating smile radiated confidence as they toasted her success, unaware of the storm about to erupt. Amidst laughter and clinking glasses, Clarissa felt on top of the world. This victory was a testament to her hard work and resilience, and she cherished the camaraderie with her peers. The restaurant's sophisticated ambiance only added to the sense of accomplishment and joy that enveloped their table. As the evening progressed, the atmosphere grew more festive. Stories of past cases and future ambitions filled the air, painting a picture of professional triumph and personal fulfillment. Little did they know, the tranquility of the night was about to be shattered by an act of blatant injustice. Two stern-faced police officers entered the restaurant, their presence casting a shadow over the celebration. They approached Clarissa's table, demanding her identification in a tone dripping with authority and disdain. The atmosphere shifted from joyous to tense as her colleagues watched in disbelief. "Excuse me, what's the problem?" Clarissa asked, trying to maintain her composure. The officer's response was curt and demeaning, insinuating that a black woman like her didn't belong in such a luxurious establishment. Despite the blatant racism, Clarissa handed over her ID, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and anger. The officers scrutinized her ID with a disdainful smirk. "Clarissa Maderos? Lawyer, huh?" one officer sneered. "You think your title gives you the right to be here?" The restaurant manager's attempt to intervene was dismissed, and the officers continued their public humiliation, escalating the tension and turning a celebratory night into a scene of injustice. Clarissa returned home, her mind reeling from the humiliation and anger. She found her father, Judge Roberto Maderos, reading in his study. The moment he saw her face, his expression turned from calm to concerned. "Clarissa, what happened?" he asked, sensing the gravity of the situation. Trembling, she recounted the incident. "Dad, I was humiliated today by two police officers at the restaurant. They made racist comments and treated me like a criminal." Roberto's eyes flashed with anger as he listened to his daughter's ordeal. He embraced her, his heart heavy with both love and fury. "This is unacceptable," Roberto said, his voice steady with determination. "They cannot treat you or anyone like this. I will make sure justice is served." The bond between father and daughter strengthened as they resolved to fight against the injustice, setting the stage for a battle that would soon involve the entire community. Judge Roberto Maderos, known for his fairness and integrity, was filled with a mix of rage and determination. The humiliation his daughter faced was a direct affront not just to her, but to the values he upheld. He knew this wasn't an isolated incident. It was symptomatic of a deeper, systemic problem. Roberto immediately contacted influential friends and colleagues, seeking advice on the best course of action. His connections within the legal community and his reputation as a respected judge gave him the leverage needed to initiate a thorough investigation into the officers involved. He was determined to uncover any misconduct and bring those responsible to justice. Meanwhile, he offered unwavering support to Clarissa, encouraging her to stay strong and reminding her of her worth and capabilities. Together, they began to strategize, knowing that their fight would not only be for personal vindication, but also for the broader cause of justice and equality. News of Clarissa's humiliation spread quickly through the community, igniting a firestorm of outrage. Social media exploded with indignation, and stories of similar experiences began to surface. The incident became a rallying cry for those who had long suffered in silence under the shadow of racial discrimination and police brutality. Community leaders, activists, and civil rights organizations mobilized swiftly. They organized meetings and rallies, determined to turn this moment of injustice into a catalyst for change. Clarissa, though initially reluctant to be in the spotlight, realized the importance of her role in this burgeoning movement. Her story had the power to inspire and galvanize a collective call for reform. Support poured in from all corners of the city. Petitions were circulated, demanding accountability and systemic changes within the police department. The community's response was a powerful reminder that when people unite against injustice, their collective voice can drive significant and lasting change. Clarissa's story resonated deeply within the community, and voices that had long been suppressed began to rise in unison. People shared their own experiences of injustice, creating a powerful chorus demanding change. The community's unity and determination strengthened Clarissa's resolve, turning her personal battle into a collective fight for justice. Community meetings became more frequent and more crowded. Clarissa, once hesitant, found herself speaking at these gatherings, her voice becoming a beacon of hope and resistance. Each meeting was a step toward mobilizing a movement that could not be ignored. She realized that the fight was bigger than her own experience. It was about challenging a system that perpetuated inequality and abuse. As the movement grew, so did the support from various organizations. Civil rights groups, local businesses, and even some political figures joined the cause, recognizing the urgency and righteousness of the fight. The community's rising voices echoed a powerful message. They would not rest until justice was served. The first major protest was organized in front of the police headquarters, a bold move that signaled the community's refusal to be silenced. Hundreds of people gathered, holding signs and chanting slogans demanding justice and accountability. Clarissa stood at the forefront, her father by her side, ready to lead the charge. The atmosphere was electric, charged with both anger and hope. Clarissa addressed the crowd, her voice strong and clear. "We are here today because we refuse to accept injustice. We will not be silenced. We will not be intimidated. We demand change, not just for me, but for every person who has been wronged by this system." The protest gained widespread media coverage, bringing national attention to their cause. It was the beginning of a series of actions that would keep the pressure on the authorities. The police could no longer ignore the growing outcry, and the first seeds of change were sown that day as the community stood united against injustice. Clarissa and her father, Judge Roberto, knew that to bring about real change, they needed more than just public support. They needed irrefutable evidence. They began to gather testimonies and documents, uncovering a disturbing pattern of racial profiling and abuse within the police force. Each piece of evidence was a step closer to exposing the truth. Roberto used his legal expertise to guide the investigation, meticulously reviewing cases and records. He enlisted the help of trusted colleagues, ensuring that their findings were thorough and unassailable. Clarissa, with her legal background and personal experience, played a crucial role in interviewing victims and compiling their stories. As they delved deeper, they uncovered evidence of systematic corruption and misconduct. The community's support was instrumental in this process. People came forward with their own experiences, providing crucial testimonies and documents. The weight of their findings began to build a compelling case that could not be ignored. With the evidence in hand, Clarissa and Roberto knew they needed to present a united front. They organized a coalition of community leaders, legal experts, and activists to strategize their next moves. The goal was clear: to demand accountability and push for systemic reforms that would prevent such injustices from happening again. Meetings were held in community centers, churches, and homes, bringing together a diverse group of supporters. Each person had a role to play, from legal advisors preparing the case to activists planning peaceful protests and media campaigns. The sense of unity and purpose was palpable, driving the movement forward with renewed vigor. Clarissa emerged as a key spokesperson, her eloquence and passion inspiring others to join the cause. Roberto provided the legal backbone, ensuring that their actions were grounded in law and justice. Together, they led a movement that was not just about one incident, but about challenging and changing a system that had failed its people. As the movement gained momentum, the media took a keen interest in Clarissa's story. News outlets from across the country began to cover the protests and the growing demand for police reform. Clarissa found herself giving interviews and speaking at press conferences, her words resonating with a national audience. The media exposure was a double-edged sword. While it amplified their message and garnered widespread support, it also brought increased scrutiny and pressure. Clarissa and her father had to be meticulous in their actions and statements, knowing that any misstep could be used against them. However, the positive impact was undeniable. The public's awareness of the issues at hand grew, and with it, the demand for accountability and change. The media spotlight also brought attention to other victims of police misconduct, shining a light on the broader systemic issues that needed to be addressed. The growing movement attracted the attention of several local politicians who saw the urgency and justice in their cause. These political allies offered their support, proposing legislative changes and using their platforms to amplify the movement's message. This political backing was crucial in pushing for the systemic reforms they sought. Meetings with politicians became frequent as Clarissa and Roberto presented their findings and outlined their demands. They worked together to draft new policies aimed at increasing police accountability and protecting citizens' rights. These efforts culminated in the introduction of several bills that address the issues of racial profiling, police misconduct, and systemic corruption. The alliance with politicians also brought about more strategic planning. With their help, the movement was able to navigate the complex landscape of legislative change, ensuring that their proposals were not only heard, but acted upon. The fight for justice was now taking place on multiple fronts, with the community, the courts, and the halls of government all playing pivotal roles. As the investigation progressed, the depth of corruption within the police department became increasingly apparent. Clarissa and Roberto uncovered evidence of fabricated charges, tampered evidence, and coerced testimonies, all pointing to a systemic abuse of power that went far beyond the initial incident. Publicizing these findings, the movement gained even more traction. The community was outraged by the revelations, and the call for comprehensive reforms grew louder. The police department was put under intense scrutiny, with several high-ranking officials being placed on leave pending further investigation. The unveiling of such extensive corruption had a profound impact on the city's trust in its institutions. Clarissa and Roberto's efforts not only highlighted the immediate need for justice, but also the broader necessity for structural changes. Their work became a blueprint for other communities facing similar issues, showing that with determination and unity, systemic corruption could be challenged and dismantled. As the pressure mounted, Clarissa and her allies faced increasing threats and intimidation. The corrupt elements within the police force were desperate to silence them and discredit their efforts. Anonymous threats, attempts to hack into their systems, and even physical intimidation became part of their daily reality. Despite the growing danger, Clarissa remained undeterred. Her father's support and the backing of the community gave her the strength to continue. They increased security measures, sought legal protection, and ensured that all their actions were transparent and well documented to prevent any manipulation or retaliation. The threats only served to strengthen their resolve. Clarissa's determination to see justice served grew with each attempt to silence her. The community rallied around her, providing protection and support, ensuring that fear would not derail their fight for justice. The threats and intimidation only fueled the community's resolve. More people joined the movement, recognizing the importance of standing together against corruption and injustice. The support was not just local. People from neighboring cities and even other states began to show solidarity with Clarissa and her cause. Rallies grew larger, and the chants for justice grew louder. Civil rights organizations, advocacy groups, and even some law enforcement officials who believed in the cause joined in. The movement became a symbol of strength in numbers, demonstrating that unity could overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression. Clarissa and Roberto continued to lead with courage and determination. The growing support bolstered their efforts, providing the resources and manpower needed to push their agenda forward. The message was clear. The fight for justice was not just Clarissa's fight. It was a collective struggle for a fair and equitable society. The movement reached a critical turning point when a high-profile public hearing was scheduled to address the allegations against the police department. The entire city and much of the nation watched as Clarissa and her team presented their findings. The hearing was a chance to publicly expose the corruption and demand accountability. Clarissa's testimony was powerful and compelling. She spoke not just of her own experience, but of the countless others who had suffered under the same corrupt system. Her words resonated deeply, highlighting the need for systemic change and the urgent need for justice. The hearing marked a significant victory for the movement. It was a public acknowledgement of the issues they had been fighting against, and a promise of further investigations and reforms. The turning point was not just a moment of validation, but a stepping stone towards real and lasting change. Following the public hearing, Support from the judicial system began to materialize. Judges and lawyers who were previously silent or unaware of the extent of corruption started to voice their support for the movement. This judicial backing provided a critical boost, ensuring that the legal system would play an active role in reforming the police department. Judge Roberto, leveraging his influence and connections, organized a series of workshops and seminars to educate his colleagues about the systemic issues uncovered. He emphasized the importance of judicial integrity and the need for judges to be vigilant in protecting citizens' rights. These efforts began to shift the culture within the judiciary, creating a more robust and supportive environment for the ongoing reforms. Clarissa, meanwhile, continued to work closely with her father and other legal experts to draft new policies and procedures aimed at preventing future abuses. Their collaborative efforts resulted in a comprehensive reform package that included stricter oversight mechanisms, enhanced training for officers, and increased transparency in police operations. The judiciary's support was crucial in turning these proposals into actionable changes. The momentum from the initial public hearing led to a series of additional hearings, each one shedding more light on the depth of corruption and abuse within the police force. Victims of police misconduct were given a platform to share their stories, and the evidence against the accused officers continued to mount. Clarissa played a central role in these hearings, meticulously presenting the evidence and providing compelling arguments for systemic reform. Her eloquence and dedication inspired many, turning public opinion even more firmly in favor of the movement. The hearings became a powerful tool for accountability, forcing the police department to confront its failings. As the public hearings progressed, several high-ranking officers were suspended or resigned in disgrace. The transparency and scrutiny brought about by these sessions were unprecedented, signaling a new era of accountability and justice. The community's faith in the legal system began to restore, and the movement's calls for comprehensive reforms grew louder and more urgent. Recognizing the significance of Clarissa's fight, prominent civil rights leaders and organizations began to join the movement. Their involvement added considerable weight and visibility to the cause, attracting national attention and further legitimizing the call for police reform. These leaders brought decades of experience and strategic insight to the table, helping to coordinate large-scale protests, media campaigns, and lobbying efforts. Their expertise in civil rights advocacy provided valuable guidance to Clarissa and her team, ensuring that their actions were impactful and well-coordinated. The collaboration between Clarissa, her father, and these civil rights leaders created a formidable alliance. Together, they organized a major march on the state capitol, drawing thousands of supporters and capturing the attention of lawmakers. The march was a powerful demonstration of unity and resolve, underscoring the urgent need for justice and reform. The march on the state capitol was a historic event, with thousands of people coming together to demand justice and accountability. Banners waved, chants filled the air, and the energy was palpable as the diverse crowd marched through the streets, culminating in a massive rally on the steps of the Capitol building. Clarissa stood at the forefront, her voice strong and clear as she addressed the crowd. "We are here to demand justice, not just for me, but for every person who has been wronged by this corrupt system. We will not rest until our voices are heard and meaningful change is achieved." Her speech was met with thunderous applause, reflecting the collective determination of the movement. The march garnered extensive media coverage, putting immense pressure on lawmakers to act. The visual impact of such a large, united crowd demanding justice was undeniable, and it became a turning point in the fight for reform. The momentum generated by the march propelled the movement forward, leading to significant legislative action in the weeks that followed. Judge Roberto's commitment to the cause came at a personal cost. As the investigation deepened and more corrupt officers were exposed, he faced increasing pressure and threats from those who sought to maintain the status quo. Despite the risks, Roberto remained steadfast, driven by his love for his daughter and his unwavering belief in justice. Roberto's position and actions drew ire from powerful figures within the police department and political circles. He faced attempts to undermine his credibility, threats to his career, and even personal danger. However, his resolve only strengthened, knowing that the fight was bigger than him. It was about ensuring a just future for everyone. His sacrifices were not in vain. Roberto's actions and integrity inspired many within the legal community to join the cause, providing crucial support for the reforms being proposed. His courage and determination were pivotal in sustaining the momentum of the movement, proving that true change often requires great personal sacrifice. The climax of the investigation came with a dramatic reveal of the extent of the corruption within the police department. A comprehensive report was released, detailing numerous instances of misconduct, abuse of power, and systemic racism. The report included testimonies from victims, evidence of tampered cases, and internal documents exposing a culture of impunity. The release of the report sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. The public's reaction was immediate and intense, with calls for resignations, firings, and criminal charges against those involved. The police department was forced to confront its darkest secrets, and the demand for accountability reached a fever pitch. Clarissa and her team held a press conference to discuss the findings. This report is a testament to the bravery of those who came forward and the tireless efforts of our community. It is a call to action for all of us to ensure that such abuses never happen again. The big reveal was a turning point, galvanizing further support for the movement and setting the stage for significant reforms. Following the release of the report, the wheels of justice began to turn swiftly. Several high-ranking officers were arrested and charged with crimes ranging from obstruction of justice to conspiracy and civil rights violations. The trials were widely covered in the media, symbolizing a major victory for the movement and a step toward restoring public trust. Clarissa and Roberto were instrumental in ensuring that the legal proceedings were fair and thorough. Their relentless pursuit of justice paid off as convictions were secured, and the corrupt officers faced the consequences of their actions. The community's faith in the legal system was gradually restored as justice was served. The impact of these trials went beyond individual accountability. They signaled a broader commitment to addressing systemic issues within the police department and implementing lasting reforms. The message was clear. No one was above the law, and justice would be served, no matter how powerful the offenders. With the corrupt officers held accountable, the focus shifted to implementing the much-needed reforms. A task force was established, comprising community leaders, legal experts, and government officials to oversee the process. Their goal was to ensure that the changes were meaningful, effective, and long-lasting. The reforms included comprehensive training programs for police officers on racial sensitivity and community engagement, the establishment of an independent oversight committee to handle complaints against the police, and the implementation of body cameras to increase transparency and accountability. These measures were designed to rebuild trust between the police and the community. Clarissa played a key role in monitoring the implementation of these reforms. She worked closely with the task force, providing input and feedback to ensure that the changes address the root causes of the issues. The community remained actively involved, holding town hall meetings and forums to discuss the progress and impact of the reforms. As the reforms took effect, the community began a process of healing. The road to recovery was long and challenging, but the collective efforts of everyone involved brought a sense of hope and renewal. Initiatives were launched to foster dialogue between the police and the community, aiming to rebuild trust and promote mutual understanding. Clarissa and her team organized workshops, support groups, and community events to address the trauma and pain caused by the years of injustice. These activities provided a space for healing and reconciliation, helping individuals and families move forward. The focus was on creating a more inclusive and supportive environment for everyone. Judge Roberto continued to play a pivotal role in these efforts, using his influence to advocate for restorative justice practices. His commitment to the cause and his unwavering support for his daughter were instrumental in guiding the community through this difficult period. Together, they worked towards a future where justice and equality were not just ideals but lived realities. With the successful implementation of reforms and the beginning of healing, the city stood at the threshold of a new era. The changes brought about by the movement had a profound impact, not just on the police department, but on the entire community. There was a renewed sense of hope, unity, and determination to continue the fight for justice. Clarissa, now a recognized leader and advocate, founded a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting legal equality and social justice. The organization provided legal assistance to those in need, conducted educational programs, and continued to advocate for systemic reforms. It became a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change in the community. The journey was far from over, but the strides made were significant. The community's resilience and determination had transformed a moment of injustice into a movement for lasting change. As Clarissa looked forward, she remained committed to the cause, ready to face any challenges that lay ahead, and determined to build a better, more just future for all. Despite the progress made, Clarissa and the community understood that vigilance was essential to ensure lasting change. They established mechanisms to continuously monitor the police department's adherence to the new reforms. Regular audits, community reviews, and transparent reporting became standard practices to maintain accountability. Clarissa and her team worked tirelessly to keep the momentum going. They organized regular community meetings to discuss ongoing issues and gather feedback. The involvement of the community remained a cornerstone of their efforts, ensuring that the voices of those most affected by injustice were always heard and considered. The continuous vigilance paid off. Instances of misconduct decreased significantly, and the relationship between the police and the community began to improve. The reforms were not just policies on paper, but lived experiences that brought tangible benefits to the community. The commitment to justice and accountability became deeply ingrained in the city's culture. Recognizing the importance of education in preventing future injustices, Clarissa's organization launched a series of educational programs. These programs aimed to raise awareness about citizens' rights, the legal system, and how to effectively advocate for oneself and others. Schools, community centers, and local organizations became partners in this educational initiative. Workshops on legal literacy, know your rights seminars, and training sessions on community activism were conducted regularly. These programs empowered individuals with the knowledge and tools needed to protect their rights and hold authorities accountable. The focus was on building a well-informed and proactive community. The impact of these educational programs was profound. People felt more confident and capable of standing up for their rights. The community became more engaged in civic activities, and the sense of empowerment helped to foster a culture of mutual respect and understanding. Education became a powerful tool in the ongoing fight for justice. One of the most challenging aspects of the reform process was rebuilding trust between the police and the community. To address this, Clarissa and her team initiated several trust-building activities. These included joint community service projects, open forums, and cultural exchange programs designed to bring police officers and community members together in positive and meaningful ways. Police officers participated in community events, volunteering alongside residents, and engaging in dialogue sessions where they listened to the community's concerns and experiences. These interactions helped to humanize both sides, breaking down barriers and fostering a sense of shared responsibility and cooperation. Over time, these efforts began to yield results. The presence of police officers at community events became a symbol of unity rather than intimidation. Relationships were built and mutual understanding grew. Trust, which had been shattered by years of misconduct, slowly began to be restored, creating a more harmonious and cooperative environment. The success of the reforms and the transformation in Clarissa's city attracted national attention. Other cities facing similar issues looked to their example as a blueprint for change. Clarissa was invited to speak at national conferences, share her experiences, and provide guidance to other communities seeking to implement similar reforms. The national recognition brought additional resources and support to Clarissa's organization. Grants, donations, and partnerships with other advocacy groups enabled them to expand their reach and impact. The movement that started in one city began to inspire a wave of change across the country, demonstrating that systemic reform was possible and necessary. Clarissa's work on the national stage highlighted the importance of community-driven solutions and the power of collective action. Her story became a testament to the resilience and strength of communities united in the fight for justice. The ripple effect of their efforts continued to spread, bringing hope and inspiration to many. As the years passed, the impact of Clarissa and Roberto's efforts became part of the city's legacy. The reforms they fought for became ingrained in the fabric of the community, setting a standard for justice and equality. Clarissa's nonprofit organization flourished, continuing to advocate for legal and social reforms and supporting those in need. Clarissa's story inspired a new generation of activists and leaders determined to continue the fight for justice. Her journey from humiliation to heroism became a powerful narrative of resilience, determination, and the transformative power of unity. The city's transformation stood as a testament to what could be achieved when people come together to fight for what is right. Judge Roberto, proud of his daughter's accomplishments and the change they had brought about, continued to support and mentor young lawyers and activists. His legacy, like Clarissa's, was one of unwavering commitment to justice and the belief that every person has the power to make a difference. In the end, Clarissa's fight for justice created a lasting impact, not just in her city, but across the nation. Her story was a reminder that the pursuit of justice is a continuous journey, one that requires courage, perseverance, and the collective strength of a community united in purpose. The legacy of their fight for justice and equality would continue to inspire and guide future generations in their quest for a fair and just society.